Yo guys, this is Haunted Lime and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing to you a team of double counters. The reason for this team is because G-Fisk is quite prevalent in the meta, and also counter there's a lot of fast move pressure that it can actually whittle down opponents. And I think Vigoroth is an underrated gem for Season 6 because I don't see it as much anymore. I used to see it everywhere in Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, but Vigoroth is really good for this team. Because it can just keep spamming out body slams. So the team I've got here today is Toxicroak, Vigoroth, and Skarmory. The Skarmory is the safe switch, so we're starting off with the game against Driftblim, and it's probably my worst matchup because neither my Skarmory is great against it, my Vigoroth can't do anything against it, and Toxicroak only can really damage it by using the sludge bombs, but even that doesn't do anything. So I'm just building up to a sludge bomb, and I'm not going to shield anything because Toxicroak is pretty much dead weight against Driftblim. So I'm trying to build up to at least another sludge wave, but my opponent gets to an icy wind, which is unfortunate, but thankfully my opponent actually undercharges this, which gives me a chance to actually do a mud bomb. Again, not really effective, but it is slowly whittling down the health because now my Skarmory can come in and farm down the Driftblim. It might have to eat an icy wind or two, but Skarmory with the steel type can actually handle the icy winds quite comfortably. So yeah, right now I'm just fast moving it down as much as possible. I will shield here because I do want to keep my Skarmory kind of in the green, because obviously, and again, a great shield by me because my opponent actually threw a Shadow Ball, which would have either KO'd me or taken me into the red. So yeah, I managed to do a Sky Attack, which takes out my opponent. I quickly switch into my Vigoroth because I kind of want to start generating some energy because Vigoroth is deadly with energy. It can just spam those body slams constantly, and my opponent brings out a Surfetch, which isn't great for me because it can actually do a lot of damage to my Vigoroth, super effective damage, and counters, and also my Skarmory. But like I said, Vigoroth, give him a bit of time, and you can actually build up to two body slams, and Surfetch is quite weak, it's quite squishy, so a body slam is enough. So now it's pretty much a guessing game. So Wishcash versus Skarmory. Wishcash only has one play here. He has to throw the Blizzard. The Blizzard would take me out from this range, so I'm calling it, and thankfully it's just a mud bomb. So a big ballsy play from me by there for not shielding, but I kind of felt like my opponent wouldn't have thrown the Blizzard there. He would have tried to bait me. He baited me again, but it was a good shield. So now I've built up to 2 Sky Attacks and more, so I'm just trying to get the shield perfectly. Got the shield from him, and a little bit of lag there, but I managed to get to the Brave Bird, and I wasn't sure if Brave Bird would be enough to KO here. Thankfully got all the bubbles too, but Wishcash isn't generally that tanky. It's quite tanky, but not too tanky like Azumarill, so I managed to one-shot it from there. So yeah, on to the next game. So this team did really well because, like I said, counter is a really effective fast move in the Great League. My opponent brings out a Skarmory, which is a terrible lead for me, so I'm just switching into my safe spot, a Skarmory, and my opponent thankfully doesn't switch out, which gives me time to kind of realign my Pokemon against his team. So yeah, so Skarmory can take Sky Attacks quite comfortably, even Brave Birds, and I did kind of think my opponent would Brave Bird and dip, but he decided to stay in. He switches out now into a Mew. Again, not great because Mew knows Wild Charge, so I'm just kind of anticipating and seeing what kind of fast move he's building up to. So right now, I built up to his 2 Sky Attacks. My opponent let one through, and he will shield this one because he wants to keep Mew alive to get all the energy off. So right now I'm like, you know what, Skarmory's done its job. It's brought the Mew into the red, and that's all it needs to do. So yeah, so here I kind of predict my opponent's going to use Wild Charge because he's got a little bit of health left, and yep, it was a Wild Charge, successfully shielded that and countered the Mew down. So now I've got a bit of residual energy going into Lapras, which again, like I said, a lot of people are playing Pokemon in the back that are weak to counter, so Vigoroth has an easy time here. Thankfully my opponent's also using is it Frost Breath, which doesn't really build that energy that fast. It does do more damage. Here I switched into my Toxicroak because I wanted to catch the Surf. I wanted to keep Vigoroth alive because I realized Vigoroth is going to be the MVP to clean up the game. So my opponent switches back into Skarmory, takes out my Toxicroak with a Sky Attack, which is perfectly fine. Vigoroth does really well actually against Skarmory. It can obviously build the body slams really fast, but also the counters do add up. So right now I'm just building up to the body slam, and even against a tanky Lapras. Body Slam does a fair amount of damage, and the counters just finish it off. And again, also built up to another Body Slam, so you can see how spammy Vigoroth actually is. And again, Vigoroth has quite a lot of bulk. Given that it doesn't go against another counter user or a fighter, Vigoroth can actually tank quite a few moves. So yep, on to game 3 here. So again, starting off with Toxicroak against a Primeape. So good lead for me, because obviously Toxicroak doesn't take it takes resist damage from Primeape. My opponent switches out into a Kingdra, which again, I should have probably switched into my Vigoroth here, but because of the Dragon Breath, I switched into Skarmory because I knew Dragon Breath would be resisted against the Steel typing. So right now I'm just building up to Sky attacks because I know my opponent can only throw Octazookas, and I think my opponent doesn't get to a second one, so I managed to get to a second Sky attack and can take my opponent out. He could have shielded here, but I guess you realize that I would probably would have farmed anyway. So he brings out his Primeape, which again farmed me down with his counters and has got a bit of energy left now. So here I'm thinking he's going to throw a close combat, because Primeape is really deadly at throwing spammy moves like Night Slash, but it was only just a Night Slash. So successful shield there, but kind of got baited, which is fine. Here I was silly of not switching out straight away when I saw the Jirachi. I'm like, oh, that's a Steel type, but the confusion damage took me out. So if I had switched out to Vigoroth straight away, I would have managed to keep my Toxicroak as a reserve just in case. But thankfully the counters do add up against this Jirachi. Confusions are starting to hurt a little bit, but like I said, my opponent managed to get to a charge move as well, which is going to be a Doom Desire. But like I said before, Vigoroth is quite tanky, and I just survived with a little bit of health, managed to get my last Body Slam off. So again, Body Slam for the games, but yeah, Body Slam spam. So counters really good effective fast move. Again, with Vigoroth, it generates energy so quickly. It's really great. So I'm starting again this next game off with all right, so yeah, lost my train of thought there. So here I'm playing against Galvantula. So normally my Galvantulas just tend to throw lunges, so I didn't shield because I did have a decent matchup against Galvantula. So right now I'm just building up to the Mud Bomb, and my opponent shields the first one, and he successfully switches out on my second Mud Bomb into an Azumarill, which isn't great for me, but thankfully I've got my Skarmory, which again doesn't want to see the Galvantula. Even though it does super damage to the bug typing, the electric damage is quite rapid, so thankfully I've got a good switch in here. And again, I'm not going to shield anything because I don't really need my Skarmory to be alive to see Galvantula, so I'm taking the Ice Beams. My opponent is just gonna take 2 Sky attacks to the face, and this hopefully should bring the Azumarill into a lower range. He shields the first one, but the second one should go through and get him into the red, and this is just enough to kind of farm down with my Toxicroak. My opponent does throw an Ice Beam, and I know I can build up to a Mud Bomb because I want a Mud Bomb ready for my Galvantula, and my opponent switches out, which is perfect. So I Mud Bomb this Galvantula, takes it out pretty clean, and now I'm switching into my Vigoroth because I want to start building up some more energy on the Vigoroth to get ahead. So again, like I said, people play Steel types in the back, and there you go, a G-Fisk in the back. So counter does a lot of damage against the Gunfisk. Again, he did an Earthquake, and you can see there that Vigoroth tanked it pretty comfortably. Right now I'm in that range of in Rock Slide range, but thankfully counter can pretty much clean the house. And again, you can see built up to another Body Slam to take the win. So yeah, another great win by Vigoroth. So Vigoroth is really good at closing games. As you can see, the counters do a lot of damage, they add up, and also the Body Slams just keep on coming. I didn't even need to use Bulldoze, but it's a good coverage move. So here, this is one of those games where I wish I played it better. So I misplayed quite a lot in this game. So I'm trying to build up to a Sludge Wave, but I think my opponent was counting my fast moves, and I threw it one move too early. So my opponent did really well for not shielding that. So my opponent then switches out into Deox defense Deoxys, sorry, and I could have stayed in, but I felt like he would have thrown a Psycho Boost, but this one only has Thunder and Rock Slide. So I switched into my Skarmory, which I thought would be the better play, but I should have really kept that Skarmory for the Meganium in the back. Obviously I didn't want to switch into my Vigoroth, so a little bit of misplay there. I switched in thinking it was a Hypno. I saw the Psychic Tap in the corner and I was like, oh, Hypno, okay, switch straight into my Skarmory. I want to keep my Toxicroak away from the confusion damage. So here I've just taken out Defense Deoxys. I've got enough for a Sludge Bomb, but I've just thrown them the Mud Bomb because I know my opponent's going to shield anyway. So my opponent has a lot of farm right now, and my Vigoroth is pretty much here to do as much damage as I can. I've got 2 shields, but I'm in a really bad situation because my opponent has so much energy, and Meganium gains energy really quickly with Line Whip. So my opponent brings out a G-Fisk, which again he perfectly switched there. So great play by my opponent to catch the Body Slam. Body Slam does quite a lot of damage to the Meganium, but not that much against the G-Fisk. So here, just building up to Body Slams. I could go for the Bulldoze, but my opponent is gonna most likely shield it, and I don't really want him to basically take all the energy into a shield. So I successfully shielded the Earthquake there, and I know I really can't take my opponent out here. I should have, in hindsight, just continued farming and risked it for the biscuit basically. I knew my opponent was close to an Earthquake, so I kind of threw that preemptively. So that was my mistake, and my opponent brings back the Meganium to Frenzy Plant me for the win. So yeah, quite a few misplays on my part over there, but you live and learn. I went for a 1 with this team, so performed really well. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this team. It did really good, and I will be happily playing that again. So thank you guys, take care.